What is up, everybody? NC.
JC and
we got a top 10 neutral on Santos Escobar. Now, Santos Escobar, he's one of those guys who you probably have not heard of. But for those of you who have maybe somewhat kept up on wrestling in the year of 2020, he's a not bad guy on NXT.
No, yeah, he's not that bad.
So we're going to go ahead and break down the first 5 good things about this guy. Well, the only 5 good things for that matter. So let's go ahead and talk about number 1.
Kick it off.
He plays Del Rio better than Del Rio.
Yeah, because at least he doesn't need Ricardo Rodriguez to do his talking for him.
Talks for himself. Yeah. Goes out there, looks like money, has his own entourage. Plays the Mexican aristocrat way better than Alberto Del Rio ever did, for that matter.
Not as cartoonishly goofy as what Alberto Del Rio did.
Alberto Del Rio wasn't a good actor.
It still isn't.
Yeah, still isn't. So it didn't play well into the character that he was trying to convey on TV. Well, I think that Santos has a little bit of acting talent.
No, he does. He does. I like the vignette they did where they were sitting down, like having their meeting. Looked like a mob boss kind of thing.
Well, and I think that Barash has kind of tapped into that. He realized that this guy has a little bit of something, so he's going to try to use it on camera and conveyed it well. So, yeah, I think he could be their next Del Rio, well, a better Del Rio if they play him right. Let's go on to number 2. This guy gave DJZ and Raul Mendoza relevancy. Now, think about that. Okay, so now DJZ was an Impact jobber. Nothing more than that. Yeah. Never rose above the X division.
No.
And then you got a guy like Raul Mendoza, who was an NXT lifer. This guy had been in NXT when we first started watching it, like back in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of those jobbers who they always shoved on TV, and he got his ass kicked. For years, they were trying to get him into something. And then finally, Triple H was like, well, he's Mexican, so I'll just shove him in with the other Mexicans into a stable. There's the brilliant creative mind of Triple H in action.
Yeah.
Remember that interview where he did with Stephanie? Well, he's Mexican. He's a Mexican.
And then she looks at him like,
what the
idiot.
fuck?
Oh.
Number 3 about this guy. He's an underrated promo. Now, we touched about his acting ability, but let's go ahead and talk about his promo skills. Now, for a guy, considering that English isn't his first language, hell of a job, man. I mean, I didn't expect him to be that good of a promo, considering the fact that the only familiarity I had with him before this was when he played that character over in Lucha Underground.
Mm-hmm. Besides
that, I had never really seen the guy talk, you know? So to see this side of him with a completely different character, I was like, all right, man. This guy's got something.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And like we were saying before, you know, with the help of Jeremy Barash, I feel like he now has a proper vehicle to convey how good of a promo he is.
Yeah, so, no, and he's doing pretty good.
Yeah. Number 4, this guy could be a name on the main roster. Now, I'm not talking about a big name, but he could be a name on the main roster in due time. Yeah. And the reason why I say that is because the guy, he gets the acting, he can talk. He's a sufficient wrestler, from what I can see. He's got an entourage. He's got a gimmick. He's ready to go. I mean, you can't say that about too many people on the main roster, but you can say that about Santos Escobar.
That's true.
So I'll give him that. And the last good thing about this guy, sure we can name more, but this is for our list.
Yeah.
He is the best chance for a Latin draw.
Out of what they got now. Yeah.
And that really pains me to say that in 2020, that Santos Escobar is the best chance they have for Latin draw. But even then, I don't consider him being somebody who's going to be a main eventer. I don't ever see him holding the WWE Championship.
No.
Intercontinental, maybe. Yeah. US, maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't see him going above that. He's a sufficient mid-carder and nothing more than that.
It's something.
He's reliable. Yeah. I mean, that you put that guy on the main roster, he can go. I'll give him that. Now let's go to the negative.
Yeah.
You figured it had to come to this, but let's talk about the negative about this guy. So, JC, kick it off with number 1 negative about Santos Escobar.
He's got a shitty theme music.
Holy shit. So, usually whenever we do kind of like fast forward through NXT, we don't ever bother with the entrances or the matches or most of the programming, mind you. So we're like, all right, let's see how shitty this theme song is. Because we figured if it's done by Def Rebel or if it's done by CFO, it's going to fucking suck. So we go ahead and we listen to it. We're like, all right, it fucking sucks.
It was basically like It's like mariachi fused with dubstep.
Dubstep mariachi music.
It sounded like random jibble jabber.
Yeah.
Thrown together in music form.
With police sirens at the beginning.
Police sirens at the beginning.
So stupid.
Jeez, you really gotta fix that theme song, man.
Yeah, fix that shit. It's so marky and stupid.
Like, it's not a theme. There's no character to it. Like, I'll say this about Alberto Del Boring. You could remember it.
Well, you know what's the first thing I thought about when I heard Santos' theme? The first thing I thought is, this is a cheap ripoff of LAX's theme song from Impact.
Yeah, it's a generic ripoff.
I expected to hear the rap in the background. It never got to that point. I was like, all right, well, I guess they found the instrumental track online and just added in a few mariachi horns.
It's just the cheapest fucking thing you could ever imagine. It's cheap. Impact Wrestling come up with a better theme.
Well, let's do a shoehorn reason for the negative. This is, to me, it's a cheap ripoff of LAX.
It is.
Even the vignettes. Don't the vignettes remind you a lot of what the shit they did with LAX and Impact?
Yeah, what they did with Conan and Kingston. It's a cheap ripoff of LAX.
And even Proud and Powerful.
And Proud and Powerful, yeah. Jeez. All right. Second reason why Alberto Escobar...
Good enough, Alberto Escobar.
Second reason why Santos Escobar is not that great and kind of sucks.
Right.
He's just not a fleshed out character.
He's not. Well, this is what you get when Triple H takes one of his great creative genius ideas from Impact, which is, it's basically like getting ideas from the Village Idiot. You're like, we fired this guy named Jimmy Jacobs, but now I'm going to steal his ideas from a shitty company. What's the point?
The point...
now, I know that technically wasn't Jimmy Jacobs' idea, but hey, we got to throw a barb at Jimmy Jacobs.
You always have to.
Yeah, well,
it's a rule.
It's how it goes.
It's a rule. All right. So the third reason why Santos Escobar kind of sucks, he's too small.
Yeah, I mean, he can't get any bigger than 205. 205 is his limit. He's a cruiserweight. I hate to say it. And unless he puts on more muscle, you really can't put him in that role of being a top worker in the company. He's going to be a sufficient mid-carder. And it mainly has to do with his size. I think if this guy were 6'4", maybe. But the fact that he's like
5'10",
205 at the most, it's like, come on, bro. You can't put your company behind a guy like that, especially when he doesn't have that type of star power.
No, he's too small. You just can't take him seriously.
Yeah.
Reason number 4 why Santos Escobar sucks. He was a part of an angle. I'm not joking when I say this. He was a part of an angle in NXT where they kidnapped Breezango because they didn't like Lucha.
You know what that kind of reminded me of is when the ninjas abducted Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm a genius. I get my inspiration from the best.
Well, and it went nowhere. Just like Breezango showed up on TV the next week.
Oh, of course.
And nothing happened.
And no backstory.
No, it's just, we forgot about it.
Yeah.
they let us out the next day in the parking lot.
See, how great would that have been if, like, let's say that Santos and the gang were driving to some Mexican casino and they were in there partying, having a good time. Then all of a sudden you see the back door kick open and Breezango scamper out. They're in the middle of Tijuana and they have to hitch a ride back to the States.
And then
document the journey. And then Santos comes back and is like, where are those gringos?
See, they could have done that.
It writes itself.
It writes itself. But we're talking about Triple H here. He doesn't want to put the effort in because he's a lazy, big-nosed... And
it wouldn't surprise me if people like Jeremy Barash and other producers, mind you, were suggesting the stuff that we were. And Triple H is like, it's too much work.
But not only that, here's the problem. That's not a 20-minute match with no storyline.
And it's not in the ring.
And it's not in the ring. See, that's the problem. That's the problem with you trying to think outside the box. Doesn't really work out too well, now, does it? It's not traditional, and it's not boring.
All right. So the biggest reason why Santos Escobar sucks out of our neutral.
Final reason.
Biggest problem with this guy. He's in way too many long matches.
Dude, this is an epidemic with NXT. Anytime we happen to skip through NXT, you know what a good quarter of the chunk of NXT is every single week? Santos Escobar 25-minute cruiserweight matches.
Yep.
Every week, this guy has to put on really long fucking matches with some jabroni, whether it be Jake Atlas or Cameron Grimes, wrestling 25 minutes for no fucking reason. Nothing really is at stake. Yeah, the cruiserweight title is at stake, but he never loses it. I don't ever expect the guy to lose the fucking title. It's not like going to be like some like great surprise like Leon Ruff beating Johnny Gargano. It's never going to be anything like that. It's Santos Escobar is going to beat everybody in front of him, and he's going to be this unstoppable 205 live title holding juggernaut for no reason. Yeah. They're going to do nothing with it.
And it will go nowhere.
It will go nowhere. It's just like, hey, I'm a fighting champion and I fight jobbers every week and that's it.
I don't get it. Why are the ratings for NXT going down?
More matches, less vignettes. Simple as that. So we have sufficiently covered why Escobar is a neutral in our opinion.
Yeah.
So, NC.
JCN.
Peace out.